This food is really good. What are we eating? It's Rocky Mountain oysters. A fine delicacy. But never mind. We need you to make a new game as fast as you can for our new handheld console. Do what you want. Let's see what I can do. Eureka! I will revive a dead franchise and create a masterpiece of a game with peak characters. Just to never touch it again and let it die again, along with the dreams of the fans to get a sequel. And they will still love me after this. I'm a genius! It happened exactly like this. Font, trust me bro. Welcome to Ricouts, your game review channel. And today we talk about the development of Kid Icarus Uprising. And it didn't happen exactly like this, but I think I did a pretty good job of representing the whole spirit of this development story. I already made a full personal review about this game, but since I couldn't use everything I researched in that video, I decided to use it in a separate video to solely talk about the development of this game. There are a lot of curious facts surrounding this particular title. In this video, you will not only receive that, but we will also receive a couple of facts about Nintendo, or specifically Sakurai's way to make games, why he's great at what he does, why the whole industry pays attention to every step that he takes, and the reason behind a number of developers improving their games just by watching the tips he gave in his personal YouTube channel. This and everything else you'll find in this video. Stick with me until the end, and if you're curious about a unique topic, feel free to click on the chapter you want from the timeline. Take your homemade bull tascos with potatoes and enjoy the video. Seriously, it doesn't look that bad at all. In July 2008, Nintendo's then president Satoru Iwata took Masahiro Sakurai out to dinner after he finished working on Super Smash Bros. Brawl for the Wii. Iwata asked Sakurai to create a Nintendo 3DS launch title while they were eating. Sakurai was the first person outside the corporation to learn about the platform's existence, and it was still in its early stages of development. Sakurai was confronted with both ideas and issues on the drive home. Sora Limited, the company that created Super Smash Bros. Brawl, had substantially shrunk in size because the majority of the game's employees had been outsourced or taken from other Nintendo teams. Although he could have made a simple Smash Bros. Adaptation for the season, he chose to make a game based on the third-person shooter genre, which was not well liked in Japan, but seemed to fit the 3DS intended 3D effects. The project was still an original game at this stage. Later discussions with Iwata revealed that Sakurai had chosen to base the game on an already existing Nintendo intellectual property. Super Smash Bros. Brawl gamers comments that several of the game's characters had not been in an original game for a while served as the impetus for this. Then he went over the potential franchises after Iwata gave the suggestion a positive response. One of the franchises under consideration by Sakurai was Star Fox, but he felt that there were some restrictions in implementing the planet gameplay features within the Star Fox setting. The funny part for me is that when Star Fox had the revival in Star Fox Zero, they tried to do something similar to what Kid Icarus did using the second screen to aim the camera, but with the Wii U gamepad instead. Unfortunately, the final product wasn't the best, even with a team that was as expert in action games as Platinum Game is. They did Metal Gear Rising, they should have known what they were doing, but the execution wasn't perfect. This leads me to two conclusions. First, Star Fox should be revived again, but with a new game, not a remake-ish of Star Fox 64 again for the third time. Second, game development isn't something easy. Sometimes a pretty good company can make a not so good game. Have you ever played this title? If you did, share your opinions with me. Did this game get overly criticized, or were the critics fair? Back to Kid Icarus development. Sakurai ultimately decided to use Kid Icarus due to its long absence from the gaming market and continued popularity in the West. He also decided upon him due to his involvement with the character through Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Once he had chosen a possible series, he conceived the basic sequence of 5 minutes area segments, ground-based combat, and bosses at the end of chapters. After submitting his plan, Sakurai was given the go-ahead to develop the game. The story and script for the game were written by Sakurai himself. By doing this, he avoided having to constantly explain things to another writer by creating the script himself. He also found fine-tuning much easier as a result. Sakurai feels that when it comes to video game narratives, creators are unable to strike a balance between the necessity of defeating foes and story-based gameplay obstacles. He developed the entire plot script himself since he was so focused on finding that balance with Uprising. This allowed him to construct a story that jibed with the gameplay's style and flow. The roles that the characters play in the game and the structure of the game itself influenced their personalities and roles. Additionally, he wanted the speech to blend in seamlessly with the story and music. Although the Greek mythology from the original game was retained, the Uprising scenario was not directly influenced by the mythology. In addition, Sakurai wanted to ensure that the Greek influence in the game did not deviate from the God of War franchise. Sakurai didn't want to show a simple good versus evil situation in the main story. Instead, he had the different groups fight because they had different opinions, not because they wanted to hurt each other. The conflicts between these groups made things more chaotic for players to deal with, and allowed the characters to change sides depending on the situation. This is something I wasn't expecting I would see in this game myself, but I really like it. Now it's time for some interesting facts surrounding the story and characters during the development of the game. In order for players to be caught off guard by what they encountered, events following Chapter 6 were purposefully kept a mystery in the lead-up to release. It was everything involving Dark Pit, who was written as a mirror image of Pit, not as an evil twin, but more pragmatic and cooler. The original's game damsel in distress, Palutena, was reimagined as Pit's companion and ally. Originally, Pit was supposed to be supported by a mascot, but that plan was shelved in favor of Palutena, which is a much better choice in my opinion. One important aspect was keeping the amusing characteristics from the earlier game, such as outdated elements and ridiculous enemy designs. This approach, as noted by Sakurai, contrasted sharply with the serious or green character storylines found in the vast majority of video games. Japanese double-act customs had an impact on Pit and Palutena's conversation. What is this, you ask? Be ready for a Japanese comedy lesson. This means that the dialogues are written and performed in a style that takes inspiration from a Japanese comedy tradition called manzai. Manzai is a traditional Japanese comedy act performed by a duo, bokeh, the funny man, who says silly, naive, or illogical things. Tsukomi, the straight man, who reacts by correcting, scolding, or mocking the bokeh. The humor comes from the rapid back and forth rhythm, a mixture of banter, misunderstandings, and witty comebacks. How this influenced Kid Icarus Uprising? Well, Pit is written as a bokeh type. He's earnest, goofy, sometimes clueless, and often blurts out silly remarks. Palutena plays the Tsukomi, clever, sarcastic, quick to correct or tease Pete when he goes off track. Their exchanges often mirror manzai structure. Pete says something offbeat, Palutena counters with a witty jab, and the rhythm keeps the banter snappy and comedic. And the reason why it stands out is, most Nintendo games before Uprising didn't feature constant voice-acted banter throughout gameplay. Sakurai wanted to keep things lively during the long missions, so he structured their dialogue around this manzai-style rhythm. This gave the game its very distinctive feel. Players weren't just fighting enemies, they were also listening to a kind of comedic routine between the angel and his goddess. Here are some examples.
I'm sensing treasure somewhere to your left.
How do you know that?
From the heavens, I can see through your laurel crown to divine your surroundings.
Really? That's amazing!
And that's not all I can see, Pit. I can also see what's in your heart.
Oh! That's really something.
So you'd better not be thinking about anything naughty.
What? How did you...
Just kidding. Seriously? Reading hearts through laurel crowns?
I know. I was also kidding.
Sure you were.
Cool, right? And the final fact, the tale was originally 3 chapters longer than the final version. However, these extra sections had to be deleted during early development. Masahiro Sakurai, I know I repeated his name a lot, but this part is important. He became known for his almost obsessive perfectionism during Smash Bros. Development. To ensure that every character felt balanced and that the game conveyed a sense of control even in the chaos of battles, he would run intense tests by playing against himself. Often, he controlled 2 characters at the same time, testing every move, hitbox, and reaction in different situations. This wasn't a full balancing method, but rather a way for him to personally feel the flow of combat and fine-tune the smallest details that made a difference. The development team, of course, also took part in testing, but it was Sakurai who added the final touch, repeating matches for hours until he reached the level of quality he considered perfect. This dedication built his reputation as a kind of human final boss who could master any character, reinforcing the idea that Smash Bros. Is a game shaped by someone who refused to accept anything less than excellence. Oh, okay, but what does this have to do with Kid Icarus? Everything, Paul, everything. Because the director's personality is the soul of the project. Just look at Hideo Kojima games to see what I mean. Sakurai is obsessed with his goals and tuning them into perfection, or he won't even launch the game. That's why he was trusted with the development of a 3DS game before even Nintendo's employees knew of its existence. Even though his vision was a strong part of making this game, it surely wasn't the only one. He needed a team to make his project real, and that's when things got interesting. What's up? We're in the month that launches the new Pokemon entry, Pokemon Legend ZA. If you have a Switch, you can buy it and later upgrade to the Switch 2 version via eShop. If you have a Switch 2, you won't suffer with a laggy and low resolution game, so buy a Switch 2 version directly if you want. Either way, click in the description below or in the card to access my direct link to Amazon. Not sure if you want Legend ZA or to save up for another game? No problem. Check my Nintendo store in the description to see the best offers I separated for you. My goal is to offer a lower price than Nintendo eShop does. If you buy one of these or just anything else on Amazon using my link, you help my channel that isn't monetized yet. Let's get back to the video. The design of the game. Sakurai hired out an office in Tokyo's Takadanobaba district in November 2008, after receiving approval to produce Uprising. He could not use any development tools at this point because the game's platform was still in early stages of development, but still, he finished his game vision between November and March of 2009. During this time, Sakurai employed numerous outside illustrators to work on concept art for the game's environments and characters, including Toshio Noguchi, Akifumi Yamamoto, and Masaki Hirooka. I couldn't find a picture of any of them on the internet because Japanese people tend to be very reserved about their privacy. I respect this. I mention them as a way to honor their work here because one man can't do everything on his own. The art style was inspired by manga, an updated visual of classic manga such as Pete's design, but also modern manga for the time like Palutina's design. Uprising was developed by the development studio Project Sora. It was created in January 2009. It started with a workforce of 30. With the commencement of active recruitment in March, the game officially began development. At the time, it was the first game under development for the new platform. Because there were no platform-specific development tools available at the time, the team worked on the game on Wii hardware and personal computers. Multiple aspects underwent considerable adjustments as the specifications of developing hardware changed. This hardware instability caused a lengthy development cycle. In the end, the team was able to fully utilize the platform's capabilities, including extensive study on how many foes could be shown on the screen at any given time. Debugging also took a long time due to the magnitude and variety of gameplay in Uprising. It's nice to understand how the devs always had their creativity tested when they contrasted their vision of the project versus the hardware they got to make their project alive. Like The Last of Us, which at the beginning of development aimed to be a 60 FPS game but got cut when they had to deal with less than 1 GB of RAM on the PlayStation 3. When devs loves the game they're doing and they are given time to do it properly, everyone wins. Uprising was designed from the start to be distinct from the original Kid Icarus. Whereas Kid Icarus was a platformer with horizontal and vertical movement from a side-scrolling perspective, Uprising evolved into a fully 3D third-person shooter divided into airborne and ground-based chapters. Much of the game's depth and scale stemmed from Sakurai's own game design philosophy and the inclusion of several weapon kinds that provided diverse strategic possibilities. The quantity of weapons accessible in-game was established early on by Sakurai, who wanted the development team to have clear goals so that development could proceed smoothly. The original Kid Icarus was infamous for its difficulty, so he chose difficulty as one of the 3 major characteristics for the game, along with music and a cheerful tale. But Sakurai intended to make some changes so that casual gamers could still enjoy Uprising. As a result, the Fiend's Cauldron was designed as a user-controller method of adjusting difficulty and allowing players to challenge themselves by wagering resources against their performance. But it is also related to the game's main theme of challenge. While the game has fast-paced action and a high difficulty level, the control mechanism was supposed to be easy. Sakurai had seen that equivalent console games used all of the buttons on a console's controller, creating a barrier for first-time gamers. To make the game more accessible for novices while maintaining gameplay depth, the developers merged the 3 basic controls with the game's framework: the analog to move, the stylus to aim the camera, and the L button to attack. But you can activate auto attack to make it even simpler, like I did, dropping from 3 buttons to only 2 buttons. In subsequent interviews, Sakurai stated that the team struggled to effectively incorporate the control method into the game. Their initial intention was to fully utilize the 3DS processing capacity, leaving limited rooms for items like the Circle Pad Pro, which was included rather later in the game's development cycle. The sad part is that we don't have an option to use the Circle Pad Pro as a second stick to aim the camera like the PS Vita did. We can only use it as a replacement to move the character. But still, it's a good option for left-handed players to enjoy the game. The team requested that a stand for the system be included in the game's packaging to allow users to fully experience Uprising. For those who don't have the 3DS stand and want to play the game in a comfy way, here's a method I found on the internet that can help you. The touchscreen, which was used to target speed weapons, was a key component of the 3DS designs in affected development. While similar touch-based targeting has previously been employed for first-person shooters on the Nintendo DS, Sakurai was displeased with the experience, describing it as like trying to steer with oars. The team was able to build a more responsive experience, similar to a computer mouse using the 3DS touchscreen, devising a mechanism of flicking the stylus to alter the camera and character direction, which reminds you of Switch 2, huh? Nintendo seems to like mixing handheld with PC experience. The developers also attempted to address the inherent problem of moving the character and camera while stereoscopic 3D was active. The music is an important aspect of this game. The soundtrack is GOAT. It doesn't surprise me that it is still used in recent Smash Bros. I could find some photos of some of the music staff members. If someone doesn't show up, it's because I couldn't find them. If it does, it will make the association with their tracks relatively easier.
Motoi Sakuraba, Yuzo Koshiro, Masafumi Takada, Noriyuki Iwatare, Yasunori Mitsuda, Ando Takahiro Nishi.
Like it, my pronouns? I know. I'm practically fluent. Okay, everyone collaborated to create the music. Nishi directed the soundtrack, while Mitsuda and his studio associate Natsumi Kameoka orchestrated. Sakurai and Nishi discussed the music style for Uprising early in the game's development, as well as which composers to hire. The composers were the most prominent contributors to Super Smash Bros. Brawl. The music consists of live orchestral music, synthesized recordings, and tunes that mixed both musical genres. The Air Battles tunes were designed to complement the speech and action on screen, which was acknowledged early on as a key goal. Koshiro also mentioned that the music should stand out without interfering with the dialogue. Sakuraba and Koshiro were brought in early, which made it difficult for them to create music. Sakuraba remembers having to rework the opening theme several times because his first demo conflicted with the footage he viewed due to his lack of knowledge about the game's environment. Takada joined the team when there was plenty of video, but he was surprised when he witnessed gameplay from the game's 50th chapter and attempted to compose appropriate music within Sakurai's constraints. Iwadare was tasked with generating distinctive melodies, but he struggled to come up with adequate tunes after several of his initial ideas were rejected. I can't imagine the pressure this man have felt. Imagine having your work rejected by Sakurai. This means you're not perfect, but how could you? You're just a human being, not a human final boss. For Kameoka, recording the live orchestral passages was time-consuming and challenging process. Each track element was recorded independently, then blended into a single track. And then each orchestral element had to be adjusted for tempo and tone so they line up perfectly. According to Mitsuda, the live music recording took place over 7 complete sessions, making it the largest scale musical production for a computer game to date. For 4 months, he focused solely on orchestration and recording. Mitsuda was tasked with writing the music for the game's 2010 review video, and he understood it was a significant responsibility. Since it's a review video and your music, we're gonna play in everyone's head after this. Whoa! I know it's a lot of information thrown at you guys, but can you imagine working for Sakurai? The guy is perfectionism in person, maybe even more than Kojima, who is also known for the same trait. You can be a genius in your area, but in comparison to these folks, you would struggle a lot because even then struggle to achieve perfectionism. We play a game, we have some fun, but these folks, and I mean everyone who worked on this game, they worked really hard to make it good.
That's why I like to know the development process of the games I love. We can understand the obstacles, the passion, the professionalism, and the creativity within these 20 hours of experiences we have. Do you like to know more about game development too? Don't forget to hit the like button if you're enjoying this video because I'm loving to do it. Comment on which part of the game's development stands out for you. For me, is there a way to surpass the obstacles along the process? Like The Last of Us I mentioned before, they have to do a lot to make it look good on outdated hardware. Back to what I was saying, Sakurai referenced specific tracks in his individual commentary on selected tunes. Sakuraba's primary theme was significantly different from prior themes on the album because he wanted Uprising to have an individual theme that set it apart from its predecessors. Because it played in the main menu between missions, the team treated it as Palutina's theme tune. Koshiro composed Magnus' theme, which had two unique versions based on the same motif and included one of Hirozaku Tanaka's original track for Kid Icarus. Dark Beat's theme was produced with Western gun duos in mind, making heavy use of the acoustic guitar to give it a Spanish flavor. Mitsuda was in charge of the boss theme, and he strove to make the music pleasant and encouraging, as opposed to the more frequent oppressive boss songs found in games. Iwadare's Space Pirate theme, produced for a faction of the Underworld Army, blended melodic motifs associated with both maritime pirates and space exploration. An interesting fact about this music process. Club Nintendo originally produced a promotional single CD featuring selected game music. The tracks got some recognition and prizes too. The music earned praise, with video game music online reviewer Giulio Zacero giving it a flawless 5-star rating, calling it the best modern Nintendo soundtrack, beating out the likes of The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword and even Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Patrick Gann, writing on original sound version, described it as an epic musical score, applauding the developers for bringing the composers together to produce it. Now let's talk about the revealing and the releasing of the game. Sakurai was developing a new game under the name Project Sora in 2009, when no one in the media knew what he was doing. Uprising was formally unveiled at Nintendo E3 2010 conference, which followed the release of the Nintendo 3DS. In an interview closer to release, Sakurai expressed concern about Uprising being shown off at gaming expos since 2010, while it was still unfinished. The game was delayed, pushing its release date into 2012, when it was eventually released worldwide in March. The game's box art was nearly identical across the Japanese and English editions. Nintendo of America's localization branch handled the English version of Uprising. Sakurai granted the localization team a lot of leeway during this stage of development. Much of the original script's humor came from the use of Japanese conversational nuances, which would not have been well arranged in English. As a result, changes have to be made to make it more pleasant for English-speaking consumers. So a big part of our enjoyment in this game is actually a credit for these guys and not only for Sakurai. But the video game references were nearly identical to those in the Japanese dub, with some changes to make them more appealing to the Western market. As with prior localizations, the crew removed topical references to give their script a timeless sense, which is much better for future generations and for the anti-outdating of this game. Ginny Maxwell served as the casting and recording director. 3 significant English cast members were Anthony Del Rio, Pete and Dark Pit, Ali Hillis, Palutena, and Hendon Walsh, Viridi. The majority of voice recording was done separately, but Pete and Palutena recorded half of their dialogue together before schedule issues forced them to record their lines separately. The European version only had English voices because there was no place on the 3DS cartridge for numerous voice recordings. They did the best they could with the best they had. To promote the game, Nintendo teamed with several Japanese animation studios to create animated films inspired by Uprising environment and characters. 3 short films were produced: Medusa Revenge, Shaft 2-part Palutena's Revolting Dinner, and Production IG's 3-part Thanatos Rising. Sakurai oversaw development on the animated shorts but generally allowed the animations to do their own thing. The shorts were made available in Japan, Europe, and North America via the 3DS Nintendo Video service in the week before the games released in each country. Critics gave Kid Icarus Uprising mainly positive reviews. Metacritic rated the game 83 out of 100 based on 75 critic reviews. Famitsu awarded the games a perfect score of 40 points, which is surprising because Famitsu rarely gives a perfect score. They did for Tears of the Kingdom, which I love, Death Stranding, which I love, and we'll make a review soon on this channel, and Street Fighter 6, which I don't get why. In its assessment, the magazine lauded the attention to detail, adaptability, and overall gameplay balance. It also commented warmly on the game's dialogue. According to one reviewer, there is a never-ending litany of things to love in Uprising. I 100% agree with this quote. Despite its shortcomings, Uprising was deemed a fantastic game by IGN's Richard George. According to Simon Parkin of Eurogamer, Kid Icarus Uprising is a strong, pretty game turned into essential one by way of its surrounding infrastructure. GameSpot Ashton Reyes said that Uprising was a fun game when it hits its stride, calling it a deep and satisfying shooter, despite its issues with control and character movement. I understand his criticism on this point. No shame on him, guys. Even though I like the controller, I get that some people won't. Neil Ronagan of Nintendo World Report, while commenting on control issues, called Uprising an amazing game packed with content. Nintendo Power, totally non-biased by the way, gave a positive review to the game. Jeff Quark of Games Informer was more critical than other reviewers, saying that most other aspects of the game were let down badly by the control scheme. I don't agree with this. It's too harsh on the critics. Edge magazine was positive overall, saying that fans of the original Kid Icarus would enjoy the game, praising the way it effectively combined elements from multiple genres. Steve Hogarty of Official Nintendo magazine recommended Uprising for hardcore gamers rather than casual gamers, saying that it felt deeper than equivalent home console games. I totally agree with him. Kid Icarus, even though it was made to have a simple control mechanism, is actually deeper than most of the AAAs launching at the time, and even AAAs I love it, like Assassin's Creed. Opinions were generally positive on the light-hearted story, in-game dialogue, graphics, several aspects of gameplay, and its multiplayer options, but a unanimous criticism was the control scheme, which was variously described as difficult or potentially damaging to players' hands. There were also negative comments about the game's linear structure. This one I don't agree with. The game is on a 3DS and it feels immersive and sometimes more open scenarios than it actually is. They did a fantastic job. I really don't agree with this critic given the hardware and purpose of the game. Uprising topped the gaming charts in Japan in its first week of sales, selling more than 100,000 units. It also increased the 3DS to a little over 67,000 from under 26,000 the prior week. By April, the game had stayed in the top 5 best-selling titles, with over 205,000 units sold. Going into May, Nintendo touted it as a reason for improved profitability, along with other games like Fire Emblem Awakening. As of December 2012, Uprising had sold just over 316,000 copies in Japan, making it the 28th best-selling game of the year. In North America, the game sold over 135,000 units, making it one of Nintendo's best-selling goods of the month. In the United Kingdom, the game finished 9th of the all-format gaming charts. As of April 2013, the game had sold more than 1 million copies, making it the 10th best-selling title of the season at the time. This summarizes one thing: if Nintendo wanted, they could make a sequel for this game, because this game sold really well. But, despite speculation about a sequel for Uprising being developed, Masahiro Sakurai confirmed that there were no plans for a sequel to the game. When asked about a current version for the Nintendo Switch, he once again dismissed any possibility, citing the difficulty of maintaining the production crew due to the ad hoc nature of the firm. For those who don't know, ad hoc means that Project Sora, as we already saw, was just a temporary company with the sole purpose to make Kid Icarus Uprising real, and after this, they closed the company. Uprising will always be a 3DS game, guys. That's the red pill you shall take. Uprising was Project Sora's only game. Barely 4 months after its release, the studio was shuttered with no explanation given, while Sakurai and Sora Limited began development on the next entry in the Super Smash Bros. Series. Peach returned from Super Smash Bros. Brawl as a playable character in Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS and Wii U, with a slightly updated redesign from Uprising, while fellow Kid Icarus characters Palutena and Dark Peach were added as playable newcomers. The game's classic mode also included a wager-based difficulty slider, akin to the Fiend's Cauldron in Uprising, and an Easter egg called Palutena's Guidance, which matches the original game's dialogue. All of these characteristics were carried over into the Nintendo Switch sequel, Ultimate, which was released in 2018. The real Uprising sequel is the Smash Bros. That will go launch along the way. But don't lose all hope. You won't end this video dissatisfied. Just listen to me. Alright, just listen to me, pay attention. The original Kid Icarus was released for the Famicom Disk System in Japan on December 19, 1986, and later for the NES in North America in July 1987. Kid Icarus Uprising was released for the Nintendo 3DS on March 22, 2012 in Japan and March 23, 2012 in North America and Europe. Age gap calculation. From December 19, 1986 Japan original to March 22 in 2012, we had 25 years and 3 months in this age gap. From all of this, we can conclude that we may see a sequel in another 25 years of its release on the 3DS. We have hope, guys. We have something to hold on called hope. Like the video? That's awesome. Like I said at the beginning, I made a personal review about this game that I love it so much that I want to share with you. Click on the cards appearing on the screen or in the video that's now on the screen to go watch it. There you have not only additional info for this video, things that Sakurai said about the game that I only used in the review video, but also that you have my opinion, topic by topic, of everything I showed you in this video. If you have already watched it, then subscribe so we can see and chat with each other in the next video. Video games can connect us all despite our differences. I hope I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, and God bless you. Oh, and don't forget to leave your critics below. I want to hear your thoughts about my video and how I can use your comment to improve my next video. Finally, thanks and God bless you.